Hi, and welcome to the Investing on a 9 to 5 podcast. I'm Paul.
And I'm Teddie. We are excited that you are joining our show, Investing on a 9 to 5, where we will talk about our investment journey, our current strategies, and learn about all kinds of investing related topics. But before we dive in, we are not financial advisors. We will not be held liable for any personal investing decisions or losses that you may occur in the market. This page is purely for entertainment purposes only.
Hey everybody, how y'all doing today? Coming to you from beautiful Northwest Arkansas, where we're having a little bit of a windstorm and some weather coming in. What's it like down there in Georgia?
It is, I think it's 65 right now. Yeah, 65 outside and sunny. So blue skies, nothing too cold.
No, they're talking about right now. They're talking about tornadoes and all kinds of storms coming through. Yeah, from like all the way like Texas, Illinois, like some big things pushing through.
Holy crap!
Yeah,
I do know Arkansas and like Oklahoma. That's like Tornado Alley.
Where I am, we're in the northwest part, so we're more of the Ozarks area. So we have more hills and mountains, so the tornadoes kind of get broken up. But where I work down in Fayetteville, it's actually more flat. So they'll have tornado warning. We've already had one since we simply lived here. We had a tornado warning a few weeks ago. A warning. A warning is when the conditions are potential for a tornado, and a watch is we've actually seen a funnel cloud or a tornado in the area. So keep an eye out. So we've had warnings, but no watches.
Okay, man, tornado. I've never seen one, but those things are scary.
Man. I grew up in Illinois where we had them, and coming from California where we dealt with earthquakes. There's something everywhere. No matter where you go, you got some kind of natural.
Yeah, and here in the South, I mean, you come here in July or May, it's not pretty outside. Yeah. The pool doesn't even sound enticing. So it like you said, everywhere has this its own.
Do you get a hurricane effects where you are?
Yes, we actually got a couple. We just get a lot of rain, when the hurricanes come through from the south down there. But when I was living in Michigan, man, you talking about some snow up there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You were getting snow from now till I don't know. I could say March, but sometimes Michigan will throw in a little April snow shower in there to really end off the winter.
Right.
But Michigan will really give you a run for your money for weather. But it does get in the summertime, like northern Michigan, like Traverse City. We have some family up there. They get beautiful weather up there. It's a whole different scenery. It's literally like in the wilderness, beautiful lakes and stuff like that.
Is that the Upper Peninsula?
That is, you can call that the UP too, but Traverse City is more, it's still so, if you're looking at Michigan, this is like Detroit here. So Traverse City is more so like right up in there, part of Michigan.
My sister's in Battle Creek area, Marshall, Battle Creek. I think she lives.
That's on the western side. That's more so western side of Michigan is beautiful too.
Yeah.
I know some areas where like Ludington, Michigan, go get like some nice little Airbnb for the weekend right there on the beach. It's real cool.
All right. Well, now that we've given everybody a geography lesson about places we've lived, I'm Paul. Everybody knows me. I'm Paul. I'm here to present today's episode. We have our social media manager, Teddie, the dividend dog, who's been killing it with our YouTube channel and keeping up our Twitter presence. Man, I appreciate it very much. You're doing a great job getting our followers over to that site and getting some help for there. And for full disclosure for everybody, this is our second take of this episode because
we didn't hit the record button.
We didn't hit the record button last time, so it's going to be on point this time. Now that we got our bugs out of it. What we're going to talk about today.
Wondering why are these guys dropping their podcasts?
And it's totally my fault. For everybody out there, it's completely my fault. I apologize. I know Teddie's been picking up the slack by throwing some individual videos on YouTube, which I think is awesome, and I think we'll get some more of those coming out as things come up. With holidays coming up, and if y'all don't know, Teddie's going on his honeymoon here pretty soon. So he'll be offline for a minute. maybe we can get some shorts posted with some different topics. So if you got some ideas or you got something you're interested in hearing about, whether it's dividend related, whether it's stock options related, just any kind of companies that you're interested in looking at, and you want some help with some breakdowns, shoot us something over on the Twitter feed, investing on a 9 to 5, and we'll look at it. And if it's something one of us want to pull up just on our own, we'll do a little quick video or a pod recording, and we can do those individually, just to keep our presence out there and answering your questions as timely as we can. And I think that'll be great for us to get to know y'all who are listening to our podcast and getting some information out. What we're going to talk about today is two different topics that are kind of related. I've really kind of gotten into one specific commodity that's called uranium. You might have heard of it. And Teddie's been doing a lot of work on EVs and the electric vehicle market. So we did a little book report today where we're going to take a topic and discuss them, give you some high points about investing in the areas, and maybe some ideas of specific companies or ETFs that you can look at that might give you some exposure to these things we're talking about. So I'm going to hit it off and talk about uranium from the jump. So quick high school chemistry lesson here. Uranium is one of the heaviest of the natural occurring elements in the earth, and it's mined from the earth. And there's a couple different variants of it, but there's one specific elemental form of uranium that's used for creating energy, and that's the U-235 atom. Now that's beyond me. That's the 235 is a representation of the total weight of the protons and neutrons. And I'm not a scientist, so I'm not even trying to embarrass myself by trying to explain all that.
Yeah, but you lost me when you said U-235. I'm like, whoop.
That's right. I read it, so I know it. So basically, here's how uranium works. These protons and neutrons are inside the atom, right? And what scientists do is they create the conditions where a neutron is split inside the nucleus of the atom. That neutron splits and hits the protons, which also splits and creates this chain effect of splitting of the neutron. And that may be completely wrong. So if you're scientists out there, you can correct us on that. But as these neutrons split, as they hit to each other, then that creates this chain reaction. And the chain reaction generates heat and energy. And that's what results in nuclear fission. So that is the process of heat generating within the uranium nucleus. And it's that heat generation from the splitting of those atoms that provides the energy to turn turbines and create and heat water to steam to create electricity. The same process that happens at hydroelectric dams, the same process that occurs in coal burning plants. It's all the heating up of water to create steam to turn turbines and to generate electricity. A typical 1,000 megawatt uranium reactor can produce enough electricity to give for 1 million people, which was a fact that I didn't know. So one reactor can generate enough electricity for 1 million people. And the cool thing that I've learned through this research is that uranium is a lot cheaper than coal. Not only is it cleaner because it's nuclear, it doesn't create the fossil fuels, burning the fossil fuels, but it's also less expensive as far as a percentage of the uranium and the cost of operating the production facility. Whereas natural gas or coal can be very expensive to mine and transport and purchase the commodity itself. It's a huge percentage of the cost of managing a facility, whereas uranium is less than 5% of the cost of managing an electric generating facility. So the cost of uranium won't have a huge impact on the cost of electricity. Is what I'm getting to, which is kind of
the same with the transport too, right? Like that whole process of transporting uranium, that will also be lower too?
I don't necessarily know, because it's transported as a physical cake, as a powder. So probably not the transportation, but the mining and the underlying cost per pound of uranium compared to the cost of coal or natural gas is less expensive. And that contributes, like if you could, well, with electricity, you can, I'm not sure, maybe you'll tell us, but gasoline costs $3 a gallon and you can go 100 miles on a gallon. Electricity, I don't know what the conversion rate of electricity is to get you that same 100 miles, if it's less expensive or more expensive. But that's kind of what we're getting at, is the generation of electricity is less expensive with the resources needed to provide that reaction, that heat, as far as uranium goes.
Well, okay. Now I'm going to chime in just to throw in an EV, since we were talking about the conversion sides, guys. I was speaking with a rep, and he told me he drove the GMC Hummer EV from South Carolina, I think, back to Detroit, and it cost him an equivalent of like $90.
Wow.
With charging.
It's like a tank of gas, maybe.
Yeah. So, but he didn't go into breaking it down.
Right.
We didn't get too deep into the numbers, but I was thinking in my head, like, what is the equivalent to that to gasoline? But I mean, $90 to go from in South Carolina to back to Detroit
in a Hummer, not like a Toyota Prius.
Not even like Prius or any type of, like, any of the new GM, EVs or anything, anything like that, or any of the Teslas or nothing like that, so it just shows you, the power that the minerals, will have in the future. Right. Like, it will eventually offset the costs.
And yeah, we'll get more of that. Yeah. So here's the thing, though, and get to my web. I had this site up last time, but I lost it. Uranium is produced mainly in I'm sorry, I had the website up before, but
you're good.
Uranium is produced mainly in an area called Kazakhstan, and I'm not sure if those, again. So we went through some high school chemistry. Now we go through high school geography. Go ahead. Go ahead. You in the front row.
Is it in Russia?
It's in the area. I'm not sure if it's exactly in Russia, because it's been broken up and there's lots of activity that's happened around Russia. But it's definitely in an area that's volatile. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely a volatile area. So Kazakhstan, that area, that region, accounts for about 48% of uranium production in the world, which we can all say. I mean, look at what happens right now with oil. OPEC is basically controlling a lot of our oil production, and that's a volatile region. Those are people that we are friends, not friends with, right? Frenemies with the Saudis and that kind of area. So the same kind of thing is going on in the Russian area. So we definitely, the United States, I mean, it's the amount of uranium produced in the United States or mined in the United States is minuscule. It's not even, like, it barely registers as a percentage in the worldwide production of uranium. So we need to get it going here, and we have the resources. We have we have the raw land and the uranium deposits in the United States to do it, but there's just been no companies that have been mining it. So right now, there's about 150 or so million pounds of uranium produced every year. The world needs about 200 million pounds a year right now with the current reactors that are operating in Japan and Europe, India, and these different countries. So right now we're already a deficit, and uranium has bounced back in price. So back in right before the Fukushima earthquake and nuclear thing that happened in Japan, uranium was bouncing up around $70 a pound. It dropped down into the 30s, and now it's kind of recovered around to the $50 range. So in the research I found is, for the United States, for companies in the U.S. to make it worth their while to mine and refine the uranium in the United States, we need to be around $50 to $70 a pound. It's kind of like when oil was really, really expensive, it made sense for companies to do fracking, right? They could go in and that added expense for fracking made sense because they could turn around and sell the oil at a larger price. But once the price of oil comes down, then that doesn't make any sense anymore. It's not cost effective. We're getting there. So we're getting to the point where it's going to be cost effective in the U.S. as the price of uranium per pound continues to go up, the commodity. So what's happening right now is the volatility and everything going on in the Russian area is helping that go up a little bit. But if you want to, look at it from the point of view of what we're going to need in the future, is with the production of nuclear reactors that are scheduled to occur now over the next years or so. You're talking about 150 or so are supposed to go up in Japan, and India is building more reactors, and then in the United States, we're actually getting onto a little kick where some people are starting to look at nuclear energy as something that can be used, and there's just a whole bunch of opposition in the U.S. about nuclear, because we've had, there's Chernobyl. Everybody's heard of Chernobyl. You may not be old enough, but I remember hearing about 3 Mile Island. There was a nuclear reactor on the East Coast that melted down and caused a little accident. So there's these things that have happened that people point to when they don't like nuclear energy. But there's a lot of misplaced, animosity toward it, in my view. But right now we're looking at, a growth of uranium, the market picking up, and the demand increasing on that reactor by reactor basis. So just for context, right now we're only looking at about 400 or so active reactors in today. So with China building some, India and Japan, that could double over the next 10 years or so. And they're talking about, with that doubling, we're going to go from our demand right now of about 200 million pounds needed per year to 300, 400, 500 when these reactors come online. So with, again, over 40% of our supplies coming out of Kazakhstan, very volatile region, we need to get that coming out of the United States on a basis that we can actually mine, refine, make cost effective, and be in an area that's safer. So United States and Canada are definitely up and coming when it comes to mining and refining uranium. That kind of leads me to the ETF that I like when it comes to uranium. It's called URA, Global X Uranium ETF.
I remember talking about this one with you.
I told you about it a minute. I have a position in that. It's in my Roth, as far as a
same here,
as a holding in my Roth, so it's there. It has the big companies. So like, I hesitate to use this as an example, but the uranium market and investing in uranium companies is somewhat, I can make it kind of like the cannabis market, right? In cannabis, you've got some ETFs, you got a few big companies, Tilray, that are into this, in the system that people like and people know about. But for the most part, like, there's a whole bunch of like penny stocks and micro cap companies that are in the kind of cannabis market. So uranium is similar, and then there's a lot of like penny stocks and micro cap companies that are the miners and producers, and then there's a few big companies that are kind of like leading the charge when it comes to large cap companies. But URA captures a lot of these. They capture a lot of these companies that you'd have to go and buy, 10, 20, 30 companies in order to get that full exposure to the companies that are out there. The biggest holding is Cameco Corp, which is a big, like a uranium conglomerate. They're buying up smaller companies. They're buying up smaller miners. They're creating a larger full footprint when it comes to the uranium market. URA also pays a dividend. Because uranium is a commodity, the dividend, it fluctuates. It's not like 5% dividend, but it's right now its distribution yield is around 7% right now, with a 30-day SEC yield of 0.94%. So it's got a decent dividend if you want to hold a uranium, less volatile uranium position. I like a company called UEC, which is this micro company that is growing. Uranium Energy Corp. They are a small cap company. They're a more volatile. They're more lotto play, if you will. But they're a company that's buying up a lot of areas in Texas and Canada to mine. So they're going to be a pure play mining company if you want to look into something that's more pure play uranium on a single company. But like I said, they are
UVC?
UEC, Uranium Energy Corp.
EC.
So right now you're looking at UEC trading about $3.67, no dividend. A 52-week high of $6, a 52-week low of 230. So that's what you're looking at when it comes to that company. But they're a company that's just doing lots of acquisitions of other companies in order to be. They want to be a big player in the U.S. and Canada as far as mining goes.
And this is where the biggest opportunity is, because obviously it's not.
Right. So here's what happened. So back after the Cold War ended, the United States made a deal with Russia that if Russia would basically go through the disarmament process, the United States would purchase their warheads. So in the 60s and 70s and 80s, the United States went and they bought all these warheads from Russia. And so they took it was like guns for money for guns on the streets. These cities, they go and they'll give money to get guns off the streets. Well, the U.S. did that with Russia on a nuclear basis. So what they did was the United States bought these warheads and they extracted the uranium from the warheads. They processed that uranium down to make the uranium for burning it in the power plants. Well, what that did was that flooded the market with the uranium. That's what, in the 70s, it brought the prices down. It put a lot of miners in the United States out of business. So what's happening now is we're finally working through that. We're finally working through that reserve of uranium that was created when that happened. Additionally, the United States is also setting up a strategic uranium reserve, kind of like we have our strategic petroleum reserve right now. They're setting up one. They've committed. I want to say, I had it here in my notes. I don't know what happened to it. About 15 billion or 150 billion. I forget the number. But they're committing this money in order to create this reserve of uranium in the United States. So that's going to also help the prices. It looks so we're talking about right before Fukushima, uranium was $70 a pound. Today that would be with inflation about $100 a pound. In order for the uranium, not in order for it to be justifiable to mine here, because that's that $70 range where we are right now. But the bull case says that uranium in the next 5 or 6 years, we're looking at $140 to $200 a pound, just based on the need and what's coming up in the future and what's available to the companies as far as mining goes. So to put that in a little bit of context, today the combined market cap for uranium companies is around $20 billion. In 2007, before Fukushima, that was 120 billion. So that's the range. So we're looking at our all-time low and all-time high. I'm pretty confident that eventually we can get back up to that all-time high. If we get back up to that range where we're looking at $140 a pound uranium, then some of these companies that we have can be profitable and can give us a good return on our money. And then that's not even taking into consideration what's going to happen when all these EVs hit the road and we have to charge them with electricity. So
bingo.
UEC, microcap pure play mining company, or URA, Uranium Global X ETF. Those are my two companies I look at. I don't have a position in UEC right now. I traded around it for a little bit and made a little bit of money. I'm not currently in UEC. I do have a position in URA though.
And I do as well. In my Roth, I have URA. It's been sitting there for a couple months.
There's lots of also, if you go on Twitter, there's a guy named Derek. I think his name's Derek Quick. He has an incredible Discord where it is all uranium all the time, and it's amazing. Until I got into this research, I had no idea how seriously some people take this. So I don't want to irritate anybody with my rudimentary knowledge and presentation of this, because there's definitely there's definitely people out there that you can reach out to and get more information and better information than I give you right now.
Awesome, sweet. And then you said Derek. I remember you telling me are you in? That's the Discord, right?
Yes, he's got a Discord. Derek Quick, Quick. I found him, our friend Dave, the author, who's also a Celsius guy. My Celsius right here, and he turned me on to this guy. I went to the Discord and was blown away by all the information that's on there.
Yep. Sweet. And you obviously are telling me everything about it.
Man, yeah,
So
I'm telling you
yeah,
this much of it.
I can't wait to go down the rabbit hole. Can't wait to go down the rabbit hole. Awesome. Well, Paul is gonna pass the baton over to me, and we are going to rise up and get into the advancements of EVs, aka electric vehicles. So, as we all know, with the rising emission levels and gas prices are up, and cars are more expensive than ever, um, there's a demand for electric vehicles. Now the question is how, and how the question is how we're going to afford it and where we're going to charge them. Those are like the two questions that everyone is asking, and that's like the big part about it. But what I did was I went in and did some research, and I'm going to use the SWOT analysis from college. Shout out to Earlham College out there. Strength and weakness and opportunity and threats for the EV market. So currently, right now, we have a little bit over 8,200 EVs in the market. 8,200 EVs like on the road. They're saying by 2030. Yeah, that's it. They're saying by 2030, they're planning on having at least 40,000. And that is less than 10 years. So that is a huge compound like growth of EVs over in the less than 10 years. So some of the strengths that's coming with the EVs are low emission, zero emission cars, right? So we're obviously looking for cars that don't do any emissions, because obviously the atmosphere with the weather, everyone's weather everywhere is going crazy, right? We were just talking about that.
Right.
Weather's out, so that is like the high end, the strength that it will help with the emissions. Now we're going to couple that with lower pricing. Now people are, the market is very expensive now, but that is the same as I look at it as when video games first came out. They were really expensive, or I can only assume when the first car came out, not everyone had one at that point, right? But everyone still had a source of transportation, and life still carried on. And eventually everyone had a car. That's the same approach that I think that we're gonna have with the EVs. So now back to the price point. Now companies are using, such as Tesla, Volkswagen, Hyundai, GM, Nio, Mercedes Benz. The list is endless on the amount of EVs that are on the way. But what this market can produce, with besides a lot of weakness and a lot of threats, is opportunities for investors, is what we're going to dive into. So back to the chargers, there's going to be opportunities in the market for companies such as ChargePoint, or companies such as GM, or any company that can have their own charging station at malls or anywhere. The charging technology will improve for the cars. Now, right now, it probably takes you an average about 2 hours less to do a full charge on a Tesla. But there is a company in the market that can do a battery swap, and they have partnered with Shell, and their battery swap takes less than 5 minutes in their cars. And we'll talk about that company as well. But the European market is the biggest growing market in the world. It's grown. Let's see. I'm gonna pull up the stats here. Let's see. Where is it?
Are these I've seen like Tesla charging stations at places. I've seen the charge point. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Are these like are they standardized? Like, can any car pull up to a Tesla charging station and charge? Does it have to be a Tesla? You know what I mean? There's like Apple like has their like you can only use their plug-in to charge an iPhone. Are these things standardized for all cars? They can go anywhere and charge?
Right now, don't quote me on this, but I'm gonna say Teslas I'm assuming are just for Teslas only. But I have seen Teslas at different charging stations. So there will be a universal plug, for all, EVs, just like you'll be able to have like a universal USB plug for your laptop type of thing. So that may not be happening now, but it could, it will be happening, in the future. Once everything starts rolling by 2027 and 2030, 2025, is the earliest, when we'll start to see the boost of the market, from its growth. And I do have some stats as well. So right now, the EV sales are projected to reach $14 million by 2025. 14 million. The global market is supposed to reach 1.2 trillion by 2027.
Wow.
We do have some upcoming players in the market, Toyota and Lexus. Toyota last year or this year did 500,000 electrified cars. So Toyota and Lexus are the same. They're in the same company.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like Ford and Lincoln. Ford, I call Lincoln's the nicer Mercedes-Benz of Ford. But my biggest market will be in China, because right now they hold about 98% of the EV buses on the planet as well. They have a lot of EV companies such as Nio that are over there that we'll be talking about. So there's just going to be a lot of changes upcoming here starting in 2025, I think. And there's just money being poured into the market, not just from investors, but companies as well. Companies are putting out products. They are testing, doing unlimited amounts of tests on their cars. Like, you actually can go on Twitter and see, a Tesla, car, testing itself every other, week or so. Or I see something new about a Nio, or I see GM trying something, or I see something about a Ford. So it's becoming a conversation of that I see, I would say every day throughout the.
And I'm seeing them on the road all the time now. I remember
and on the road
years
too.
ago, you maybe every once in a while you'd see a Tesla. Like, oh, it was a unique thing to see. Now, like, I mean, I can't go down the block without seeing a Tesla on the corner. I've seen Rivians on the road.
And
And
Rivian too.
then, the other hybrids, obviously for the car dealers. But as far as the pure play goes, I know I've seen Teslas. I know I've seen Rivians on the roads.
Yeah, the Rivians are they're slow. It's slow starting. I remember that stock ran up a lot when it first came, and then obviously the market cut the legs from under it. But that doesn't say that the company won't be here in 10 years or so thriving just like Tesla. Everyone's chasing Tesla. It's the top selling EV company. I think they sold over 300,000 EVs this year, and they hold 72% of the market share right now. So like Elon's got a target on his back.
Mm-hmm.
He's out, he's launching rockets on Twitter. But it just to show that these companies are coming. They're not just going to GM and Ford are not just going to let back and just let the EV market just do let someone else come and take a play. They want to still be leaders as well, because this is the first ever for every company. So they want to make sure that when they look back on 10 years, that their first ever has been like improved in the next 10 years and so on. So they want to make sure they put the best out, and that's why the market cap is going to be 1.2 trillion by 2027. That's that's 5 years from now. Back to the charging stations, the government is investing $7.5 billion into charging stations. That is not a joke. They are not just writing that just to say we're thinking about it. No, they are. But that presents opportunities for us as investors. So there are 4 companies that I like for the EV market, and my first one will be General Motors. I like GM. They are coming out with a huge fleet of EVs that are going to hit the market here. The Chevrolet is, they're going to start out with their Bolt EUV. It's a little small electric, car that's, I'm starting to see a lot of those on the road now. They're coming out with their Silverado electric full-size pickup truck. that's going to have the ultimate platform. So a lot of the companies that I'm going to talk about, what their advantage is that they have one battery platform. So think of these electric cars as RC cars. You can just take off the tops and just, or dragsters or anything like that. So they'll have one platform. The battery will all be on it, and then the only thing they will do is obviously when they have to, if they ever have to change models in the future, they won't have to go and redesign the battery and and do all those type of things. They'll just be able to just design it just off of that platform, which will help speed up production time for them in the long run. They are coming out with not coming out, but they will be investing $35 billion into the EVs through 2025. So that's a lot of cash being invested. That means a lot of opportunities for investors. They have a huge facility up in Detroit, Tennessee. Mainly in Tennessee and Michigan, where they'll be doing all type of testings for the EVs for the buildings. So they have a lot of things coming into play over in General Motors, and then they're also going to have an access for customers to you'll be able to plan out your trip. So like when you go on Apple Maps or Waze or whatever you use for GPS, well, for those out there that say, hey, well, what if I run out of energy on my way? Well, with using this app, based off of your energy of your car, you'll be able to know where to go. It'll tell you you'll need to stop in this area here to get this amount of battery. It'll take you this long, and so on. And it will be in communication with you as well. So you won't have to worry about where's the next stop. There's plans into effect to have all of that taken care of for the consumer. Now, batteries, they will have all types of battery packs for the customers. I think there's like 3 levels of batteries that you can get as a customer. There's like a home kit, and then you can get like a one of the big ones, and then you can also get like a large one as well. Now, those are early. These are early on invention or early on products. 10 years down the line, who's to say how small and how quickly we'll be able to charge these, just like we charge our phones. But it's just the start. So as investors, we have to take a look at this and say, this is an opportunity to grow with not only the best, but we also get to grow our nest as well, because we're investing in it. So General Motors, just to give you guys a breakdown of the stock.
Can you imagine a time comes when they have like the pad, like you put your iPhone down on the pad now and charge it, you just be able to pull into your garage and wherever you park in the garage, you're going to get that charge.
Isn't it? Or could you imagine something on the top of the car, right? And it charges it from your garage as a lot, who's to say?
It's going to come. It's got to come. It's just progression. Technology will catch up with the ideas.
Rockets. He's got to stop launching the rockets.
Or tweeting.
or tweeting at 4 a.m. So GM, 39.81 price right now. They are giving it a 51.29 target price, 28% increase. And their earnings per share is below, industry is below 15. So obviously it's profitable business. GM produces cars. We see the Chevrolet emblem everywhere we go. So and they also have a whole huge wide range. So they have Chevrolet, they have Buick GMC, they have Cadillac, and all of those brands are all making EVs as well. So it's not just one company you're buying. You're buying actually 3 companies in one, because you're getting 3 brands into one company. You're getting Chevrolet, Buick GMC, and Cadillac. So in all those brands are, they're all bringing.
They have their models and their own identities.
So I kind of see it as like an ETF in itself, because you're getting 3 brands into one. I mean, you really can't go out and do any. You can't see that with any other brand, I would say. I mean, you're purchasing Lincoln, but like GM has huge market share,
right?
So just the one to keep on your list, and it does pay a small dividend of 0.9%. So I really wouldn't be buying.
Oh, really? I thought it was larger. I thought GM paid him. I never really used
Stock Rover.
No, you're probably right. I never really looked at it.
Hold on. You know what's crazy? when you were talking about URA, it gave me the wrong. It was telling me the wrong dividend yield. So now I'm curious.
According
As to
to TD Ameritrade, no, it's 0.9.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I mean, even this 5-year growth rate, guys, is negative 43.18. The dog does not buy anything like that. Only ET can stay in something that's negative in the portfolio. That's it. Only ET has the right to do that. But once again, I wouldn't be buying this for the dividend. I'll be strictly buying this just for
EV growth.
just for growth and profits. Yes, sir. Now, my next company.
This is the one I'm excited about.
We're gonna go ahead and talk about good old Nio.
I just saw something this morning on Twitter about Nio doing something. Let me go ahead, keep talking. I'll find it while you...
Okay, I got you. My notebook just flipped all the way back on me. Sorry. Awesome. So here we are. So Nio is another EV company that is based out in China, and what they obviously produce are EVs. They have they have four models: the EP9, ES6, ET7, and EC6. They are all four-door either sedans, or they have some SUVs. They're also coming out with a wagon as well. Now, one thing that I like about Nio was that obviously when I first started investing in this company back in 2021, back last year, I was in it at like $35. So right now it's at like $9. Obviously, I got out of it and I took a loss on it, but that didn't mean I lost the vision of the company. It just wasn't
right.
The market just wasn't. So that means I had to go and do something else. So, but what I did do is I kept doing research on Nio, kept looking at the company, and I noticed one thing about them: the revenue was consistently growing. Revenue is consistently growing. They have huge market share over where they're at. They have over 1,200 swap stations right now over in China and through Europe. Now,
what's a swap station?
Or charging station. Sorry.
Okay.
So the charging station. So they have over 1,200 of those over in throughout Europe and China. So what those are just like highways that have basically charging stations for Nios. So I understand that the COVID situation that's going over in China, that it's really hard, and I feel really bad for what's going on. But Nio still has been able to produce, and they're over in Europe now, but they were able to get all of that done with nothing really stopped them as like much to getting the stations in for the highways. And I think that's going to play a key for who's going to have market share when other players are going to start releasing their EVs, and they're going to customers are going to have EVs over in other countries. GM has a brand over in I think it's called Opal, OPAL. I think that's a GM brand. They may even be coming out with EVs as well, but I don't know the for sure fact on that one. But that just shows you, Nio is just taking a huge stand on being a EV market leader over in where the hugest market for EVs are wanted. Because over in Europe, if you see, everyone has a small car. Every car, no one has a large pickup truck or Suburban or Durango or anything like large like that rolling through. You may see a minivan, but a lot of them are small cars that are going to be that people drive a lot, and they do need EVs over there. So that's where they are putting a lot of their efforts, and they do plan to get here by 2025. Now they do have a battery swap. Now, the battery swap is what's cool about Nio, and I think that's what's going to separate them from everyone
This is
else.
what really fascinated me when you told me about this.
Yeah. So Tesla, I mean, you guys remember, right? I told you Tesla takes you an average about 2 hours or less to charge. Well, with Nio's battery swap, it takes less than 5 minutes for you to get a new battery, and you're out. Now, the battery swap stations are going to be like, it's going to be just like a small station, just like it's going to be like a small box that you'll be able to pull your car in. The machine will be able to take the battery, swap it out. You'll be able to drive out less than 5 minutes, new charge battery, swoop. Now, that is the cool part, is that like you don't have to get out, you don't have to talk to anyone, you don't have to do basically anything. And now the price point for Nios is, this is the cool part too, is when you purchase a Nio, you can purchase it with the battery as a service, or you can purchase the battery without it. So, and the price points are different.
So you can purchase. It's like, so the swap ability is a subscription when you purchase the vehicle,
and then
or you just go be just a straight charge bunny.
Yeah, or you'll just be a straight charge person. Yeah. Okay. So, but they have a battery as a service. So for those who want, and they have over 1,200 patents on that battery as a service too.
There you go. The news was, and Nio is up today almost 7% right now, on news that they're partnering with Tencent to create a self-driving and high definition mapping technology. Yes. I'll shoot you this link in that.
Shoot me that.
Breaking news while we're talking.
Heck yeah.
It's up. Yeah, it's up today. It's over 7% right now.
There we go. And I know the strength is there. Obviously, it's not financial advice, but I mean, this company was at $60, rolling strong from 35, 40 to 60. So I just know the market right now is not respecting the work this company has done, nor the like the power that it has to, to help for the future. And I think the models, that's another thing too, is the models that come along with the EVs. A lot of people don't like what they look like.
I tell you, I got a problem with, like, I'm old school, so I like the front, on cars, you have the front grille, or you got that, like, there's something there breaking up. I forget which one of the Tesla models, but it was a white car, and it was just the white, it appealing to me. It wasn't appealing, just the white, body, all same body color. I know they do some like fake, sometimes decals or paint schemes, and it's cheesy, I guess, to paint on a grill, but to me, just like, sensory wise, visually wise, I don't like the way it looks when it's all the same body color. If it's white,
I know,
blacks are different because you can see this, it's not the same, or dark red or something cool like that. But just a white vehicle that's all white all around, to me, it's just like, it's too plain looking.
Yeah, I've seen it. It looks like a big old like whiteboard. Oh man, no, you did hit on the head too. That Nio just hit with that company. What was the company again?
Tencent.
Yeah. Now, did you know that they linked up with Shell too? Shell is signed a deal with Nio to have their battery swap stations.
So that's the infrastructure here in the United States is going to be through Shell partnership.
That's when they signed that, I was like, oh, this is how they're going to get in the United States.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. If you're going to go around and have to build these things or create a footprint, then that takes years. But if you can, like, if they're getting with a Shell station, and Shell's going to say, oh yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Now, and then I start going to Shell stations and looking. Now, when you go to a Shell station, they all have a what next to them? They all have those garages attached to them, don't they? Every single Shell station has some type of either a car wash or like service a mechanic station, like area or service station. Where I mean, 2025 with all these EVs coming, I mean, Shell's gonna be like, well, we're gonna have to upgrade. Who's the hottest? And I don't think LeBron James is gonna go pick a mediocre player to say, hey man, let's go run for a championship. No. And Shell's like LeBron James in the oil game. They're the number one producer. So, and just to give an inside scoop on Nio, I have one of my best friends. He works in the engineering department for automotives or OEMs, and he said he was at a work conference in Boston and this company had brought up Nio as a potential person, to do OEM work for, such as like in the insides of the wirings and all the designs of, the bunch of insides of the workings of the car. So that's what he specializes in. And yeah, so he told me about that, and I was like, holy crap, man, this is crazy. I was like, I'm not gonna say it, Nio's on the way, but man, it's sounding good right now.
Right. There's a good thesis behind it. I can see it.
Yeah, and I just see, and let's see, and I just see them growing, and then they have them on Stock Rover as obviously a strong buy. Target price right now at 21.63. Doesn't pay a dividend, strictly growth. They are not profitable yet. They're not profitable yet, but I do notice that their sales are growing. So obviously you're trying to buy profitable business, but I want to find a company that's not profitable now, but they plan to be profitable in the future because they have a hot product. They're in the right sector. They're in the right market. They have a huge market share where the EVs are going to be a huge player before they get here to the States. They have more cash on hand too than they do in debt. So that's also solid, a solid indicator as well. So Nio on your list, guys. This is a very innovative company, and I think they're going to be a huge player here in the EV market here in the future.
I think what we're going to do too in the future is go over, because I've got Nio in what I call my kids account. I have my kids and my wife I have set up with M1 accounts. And so after we talked before, and you were telling about this whole battery swap service, I became intrigued by Nio, so I went ahead and I got a position in my kids' account. But we'll be going over in the future because I know you are known as the dividend dog, and you've generated your following on Twitter by your really your good research and detailed analysis as far as the dividend goes and the growth goes. But we do, even though I got dividend holdings in mind, I've got some growth, and I do sell the options premium to juice up some monthly income. But we do have spec portfolios. We do have other outside investments where we do these kinds of things. We do buy companies that aren't necessarily profitable now. We do buy companies that don't pay dividends. So we will be going over that too in future podcasts and talking about these different companies that we're looking at when we're buying small positions of. So just more clarification for the listeners about you are the dividend dog, but there's room in everyone's portfolio for a little bit of a spec thing, a little something. If you can throw some small percentage at it and it blows up, then you really helped out your portfolio without risking what your goal is, without risking your retirement goal when it comes to dividends or what your main focus is going to be.
Exactly. And the spec plays are always fun. Since we're talking about the spec plays, in my spec play, for my tech, I have Plab, Photronics, Meta, Nio, Square, and Google. Not financial advice, but these are the ones that I'm taking a chance on as growers.
That's awesome. And I'm looking at Nio has our friend Dave talks about book value. So Neo's book value is around $4 right now, almost $5. So it's trading above its book value, but of course that's the premium you pay when you're looking at a growth company. It is not a value company. And even though, like I said, it doesn't have, and what led me to look at that was what you said about it having more cash than debts. So that's always a benefit too. So you do pay a premium for it over what its book value is, but again, that's what you pay for, the premium for having a growth company. But I like it. I like Nio.
Yeah, and I think, man, we're 9 to 5 investors out there, guys. This $10 stock, man.
Let me look at it. Let me look at its option chain to see what it looks like as far as options go.
And for also for new listeners out there too that are obviously just starting investing, we do have an ETF for the EVs. So remember we talked about ETFs, exchange traded funds that have everything, attracting a certain sector. So for the EV sector, this ETF is called Drive, DRIV, and it, its top 10 holdings are Apple, Tesla, Microsoft, Nvidia, Toyota,
Apple.
Qualcomm, Google.
Is Apple going to build a car?
That's what
That's
they're
the
saying.
rumors, right?
Yeah, Tim's trying to kick Elon Twitter off the Apple Store, and he's also trying to do the metaverse to take Zuck out. So I don't know what he's doing. It's so funny. I'm like, yo, Tim is really trying to take over the world. He's trying to take out Elon.
I'd buy an Apple car.
I think they did partner with Honda though, or something like that. Apple and Honda may have a partnership.
So it looks like, yeah, I mean, if as far as the options go, the Nio, they have a decent premium right now on their options too. So like if you didn't want to go buy shares and you wanted to play it from what I would do is I'd look at these cash secured puts. So you can sell. It's down today because it's going up, obviously. You want to sell puts on red days and sell calls on green days, but maybe today you buy 100 shares and you can turn around and sell a covered call at around, I'd probably sell maybe a $13 call for $10, so you're going to make $10 on your 100 share purchase. Or if you don't want to buy shares up front, you can sell a cash secured put at $10 put for almost $30. So you're going to put $1,000, on the side for that put, get $30 for it. So your break even price is around $970 if that got put to you. It looks like,
holy crap,
yeah, it's 50-day moving average is right around 1030, and today we're up at 1080 because of the news. It's gappy though. I'm looking at the daily chart, and it's pretty gappy when it comes to its moves. So that's something you got to be aware of. It can close one day at $10 and open the next day at 15, or it can do the opposite. It can close one day at 10 and open the next day at 8. So you got to be aware of those gaps because they tend to fill when you look at a chart, right? I know you got your chart book that you've been reading about, and hopefully we can talk about that pretty soon. But
yes,
that's what Nio does. But I think I'd mess with options on Nio between like the $8 and $12 range, I think, and see what I could do. Just like I said, if you wanted to look at it, check your premiums and check your risk, but it's got good premiums for it, is what I'm saying.
I want to get a lot of shares in this. I have I have 12 right now. I want to get up to 100, and what's it, $10?
Mm-hmm.
Just so I can. I just want to have one play just to do that with just do the options.
I'd say if you had
we talked about, we said no on ET. Just because it wasn't enough volume, right?
Right. ET didn't have the premium, but Nio does. Nio's right there where I would do. Yeah. Nio's got good volume, and I'm looking at the December 9th one. So I'm looking a week out. So if you could do weekly, maybe the monthlies, let's say you had $900 to put onto the side, you could sell the $9 put and make $30 on it. Let that sit there, and then if the price doesn't drop below $9, then you just keep your $30 and you do another put. If the price drops down, then you have that $30 cushion, so your break even's $870 or whatever. And then you get your shares that you want to have. And then if you have, you can turn around and keep your core. You said you had 12 or so core shares and just trade around that. I was going to, I can't share it. I can't share on the screen, but it's what I've been doing with the what you call it, the Palantir and SoFi. for the.
Well, yeah, man, SoFi's like $4 right now. Man, you probably can do some crazy options with that.
Well, what I did was, I sold. Let me pull up the screen. I've got. I'll share this screen. Let me get this real quick. Pardon the technical on my part.
Oh, you're good.
Here we go. Share screen. All right. So, can y'all see that? Oh, we got to click share. Okay, there we go.
There we go.
All right.
Wait. There we go. Now I see.
Okay. So here, this is what I've done so far with Palantir and SoFi as an example. And again, this is real money. This isn't just a spreadsheet. I'm actually doing this in my account. On the 1st of November, I bought 111. I bought $1,000 worth of Palantir. Fidelity lets you buy dollar worth or shares. So I went ahead and bought $1,000 worth of Palantir, and then I immediately sold a covered call on it. So I paid $8.95. I turned around and I sold a covered call at $9.50 and got $25. With that $25, I bought more shares. That call expired worthless, so it just went away. Right, I kept my money. I sold another one on the 14th, a 12/16 call, and yep, it expires 12/16. A $9 call. So right now that one's out of the money still. So with that $25, I bought 3 more shares. So you can see it right here. I've increased my share count from the original 111 to 117, and I've reduced my cost basis from the original 895 down to 850. So what could happen is if the price gets over $9, then those shares will get called away from me. So I'll end up selling 100 shares for $9. Whatever the price, maybe it jumps to $15, right? Unless I buy back that call option, I'm still selling at $9. That's my risk as far as selling the covered call. But if I sell them right now for $9, then I'm making 50 cents each per share. So I'm making $50 on the deal. And I keep doing this as these calls keep expiring, or the next one, maybe the price goes up a little bit and I sell a $10 call or 12, whatever, you choose your strike. On the flip side, that's putting $1,000 out right away and selling the covered calls. On the flip side, with SoFi, and this is, either one of these would work with Nio, either one of these strategies. On the second, I sold 2 cash secured puts for $5. That puts $1,000 at risk. Puts $1,000 away, secures $1,000. I got $10 for it. 2 of them was $20, $10 each. So I made $18.94 after commissions and fees and stuff. That expired. So the next week I sold another one, $5. That expired. So the one right now, it's in the money. So right now, SoFi is at 450. So right now, this is trading at 450. I sold the puts for another $16. So let's say I get assigned those shares. So it's 200 shares because there's 2 contracts at $5. So that's $1,000 that I'm getting. I'm going to be out. So 200 shares. My cost basis is 466 because these other sales up here. So even right now, I'm going to be 10 cents in the hole instead of 50 cents in the hole. And what I'll do is I'll go around once if I get assigned these 200 shares and start doing this strategy over here where I sell the covered calls on it. So this is the wheel strategy in view, but you could do the same kind of thing with Nio. If you like Nio, you can do the same sort of strategy. And this link here, guys, on our YouTube, our social media manager has put our link tree up there. So this spreadsheet is available live on YouTube. I'm sorry, not on YouTube, but on our Twitter feed. The link is there to go look at this live, and as it gets updated, it'll update with the link. So you can see down here our total profit and loss on the whole deal realized is $68 because of the current price of this is with Google Finance. The current prices are here. Where right now, if we were to close it all out, we'd be 142 in the hole, but I'm not going to close anything out and keep rolling the wheels.
Oh yeah, just getting started. Yeah, no, I definitely would want to do that with one stock. So, and I think Nio might be my best shot to get some
Yep.
shares because I want to get a lot of shares of this.
Right, right.
Because I mean, who's to say they don't have a run like Tesla, man, and go up to like $600?
Well, they probably, I mean, they will eventually, I think. It's just a matter of time when a company like
Just
that.
say it. Yeah.
If they, so here's what I think with Neo is, and this isn't without doing any kind of research. This is just completely off the top of my head. So with this, to me, the biggest drawback to EVs are range. And what happens if I run out of gas, right? Right now, if I run out of gas on the side of the road, I call it AAA. The tow truck comes out with a 5 gallon can of gas. They fill up my tank with the gas in their tank, and then I drive on to the next service station to get more gas, right? What happens
Mm-hmm.
right now if I'm driving an EV and I run out of energy? Is there a Tesla? Is there, I'm sorry, a AAA I can call? And I know it's in the works. I've seen different things where they come out and give you a quick charge on the side of the road. So, it's once those and the availability of it when it's widespread availability, right? Right now, no matter where I am, I could be out in the middle of BFE Georgia or the Ozark Mountains, and I know within a
Yeah.
couple of hours I'll get a gas can there. It's having
Mm-hmm.
that kind of availability for an EV. I think if Nio can prove, like either through their Shell partnership or through the battery swap ideas, what'll happen, I think, is you'll see a company like GM or Tesla or Ford buy them. They'll acquire them for that kind of technology. I
Technology.
think if they can,
Yeah.
that's my view. I think that's what's going to. You see the consolidation. We talked about it in uranium. We talked about it in cannabis. We talked about it in everything, right? Amazon,
Mm-hmm.
Apple, Microsoft, they buy the companies. Facebook, they buy the
Moats.
companies, right? And they widen their moat by buying these companies and holding the technology. So I mean that's maybe 10 years. That's what we're looking at. Neo gets bought out by GM, for twice its market cap or something like that. Who knows what'll happen? But that's I think it's more difficult for them to compete and that I think with Tesla, I think GM is better positioned in the car market to produce the cars, to sell the cars, to service the cars. But you have companies like Tesla that's making groundbreaking technological advances, Neo making these technological advances that I think the larger companies will just kind of come in eventually and acquire. So that's my thesis on Neo. I don't know if I would if 10 years now it's going to be a standalone company or if it's going to get acquired, but that's kind of how I think I see it playing out.
No, you definitely just turned on another light bulb that they could definitely get acquired because companies, that's what they do. Big companies, they just go out and flash a check
Yeah.
and everybody's, is everybody doing the rain dance. No, what you said about the charger, people running out of energy. Neo has a service that you can call them and they will come out and charge your car for you,
There you
just
go.
like AAA. Neo already has that in place.
What's I mean, me may not know what the response time is though on that. Like, am I going to be, if I'm in New York or LA, I can probably get that service pretty quickly. But if I'm in, you know, outside Cheyenne, Wyoming, someone can come and give me a charge.
Right. I don't know the updated time frame on how long they would take to get out, but I
Yeah. And
do
I wouldn't
know.
expect you to, but
Oh no, expect me to. That means I gotta go back and do some more research. I love it. But they do plan on having a swap station less than 5 kilometers
yeah.
from less in Europe. That's like one of their goals. So that is a plan to, have it nearby and then, produce as many service vehicles at those locations or at a certain location just so we are in standby.
Right.
But they're gonna have, lots of those the highway routes are gonna be all having charging stations. So eventually I think in 10 years from now, I think
I
we're gonna
see
have a
the
lot of
company that
charging.
can overcome that fear, and that's with me. I'm not an early adopter at all when it comes to EVs. The cost of the vehicles in the first place and that availability, can I can I take my family on a road trip and not have any stress at all about charging stations? And I know when I lived in California, they were there everywhere. You could pull off the side of the road
Yes.
and go to a PG&E charging station. They're very, very widespread in certain areas, in certain states, in certain metropolitan areas. But like I said, if I'm
Washington.
if I'm traveling from Utah across Colorado and Nevada, Wyoming, am I going to be stuck in the middle of the desert? That's when they can solve that problem. When Elko, Nevada has a charging station, or I can make it to the next one in Winnemucca, then then I know I'm good and I'm safe. But if it's like, man, I'm on fumes now, my red light's on, I'm trying to make it, your body is willing your vehicle to go forward, and you're stuck out there. That's the fear. When they can overcome that fear, whether it's realized or not, when they can overcome the fear of the general public, I think, especially in the United States with our car culture, then you'll definitely see the pickup. Man, it's coming. I don't have any doubt at all that it's coming.
Yeah. And when you mentioned, being stuck out in the middle of nowhere with people that live in hills, the batteries do take a lot more energy to push the bigger vehicle, so that may cause you to lose a little bit more energy faster because you're going up on a steep incline. So that may be also causing some questions as well, or different temperatures at different elevations.
Running your AC, or your tires are low. All those things they went back to when it comes to drag and things like that.
Yeah, it's just a lot of opportunity out there for new companies, and for innovation, for us to see something new. Because I mean, past 2 years, everything has just been kind of just spiraling out of crazy. So
it's awesome.
Hopefully, the EV market, new cars, and low emissions or no emissions. That's Mary Barra's big thing at GM is zero emissions. So they one thing back to GM, they're from CEO down, everyone's on board to move forward towards the EV market. And just to close out on NIO, they did run into some financial troubles, but the Chinese government over there loves them, and they put like 20% of stake.
I don't know if that's necessarily a thing you think. It sounds like the Chinese government loves them. That's
like I read, like, that's literally what the article says. Like, they love them.
Yeah,
they put money. So it just shows you that their government over in the Chinese government. We all know how strict it is over there. For them to even give the even chance to even, at one point they were trying to take it off the stock market over there or something. They were halting it. So they've gone through the loopholes, and they've proven that their product is like a real thing. And it's I see a lot of growth from the numbers over from Europe and over in China. So I can't wait to see them when they get here in 2025.
So that's one thing too I want to point out. I noticed that that NIO is an ADR. So if our listeners aren't familiar with what that means, is it's a Chinese company, and the ADR doesn't necessarily represent a share of the company. It represents like an IOU of a share. And I bought it. It's in, like I said, it's in my M1 account. Fully aware of what this means. So technically, if the Chinese government decided to, they can just say, you know what, never mind. We don't owe you anything. You don't actually own the share. You own an IOU of the share, and we're taking it private. We're cutting off to the market, and we're not going to pay you for it. They technically can do that because of the way the ADRs are set up. That's just a risk you take so anytime you buy any foreign company, if you're buying an ADR share, you're basically buying an IOU of a share. If you go out and you buy GM, you could go to your broker and ask for a stock certificate. You have it in your online account, you can see it, but you technically can get a physical certificate saying you own this share of GM. You can't do that with an ADR, and that's just and most ADRs are like they're held offshore, and there's like a lot of technical stuff when it comes to the holdings. But just like for a disclosure about how ADRs work, know that there's some caveats to owning ADR companies.
That is a good fact to know, because I heard of the IOU, and like I knew that was in the back of my mind, but I didn't know it was like called an ADR. So I just learned something. I just put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah. So, well, good, dog, man. Thank you very much for that breakdown of the EVs. Very educational. Yeah. I definitely, just between us, I think we did better on this one than we did the one that was lost to the to the unrecorded zones. for all of our listeners, we thank you for sticking with us and tuning in. If you want to reach out to us, please do so. Twitter at investing on a 925. The number's 925. We have the Dividend Dog on Twitter, and you can find at the Dividend Dog. You can reach me at options_legacy. All of our links are on the Twitter page. The YouTube is investing on a 95 on YouTube. Am I right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. And YouTube. Yep. So we got the YouTube going on. The links are out there for the spreadsheet for the options plays, and we're going to find other stuff to put on there too when we do different things, and get some more details and information out for you. Anything you want to know about, any specific company you're interested in, hit us up on Twitter. Teddie's really good about doing some like on the spot research, and he can give you his brief overview real quick. If you want something more in depth, we'd be happy to. We got some really cool guests lined up coming pretty soon. One good friend that we both have gotten to know real well on Twitter is the author Dave Greta. We've got him set up to come next week. Is that right?
Week after next.
The week after you get back from vacation. Yep. So he's going to talk about valuing a company in just a few minutes time, looking at the company and deciding whether or not it's a good investment. And it doesn't take very long, just a few minutes. He's going to do it for us in 5 minutes. He says he tell us about a company. He's the author of a book called Night Trading. So I read it. It's a good book. I know the dog's read it, so I recommend you take a look at it. So if you want to look at him, he'll be on. Like I said, we're going to talk to him in a couple weeks, and then we have other guests lined up for the future too. We have CEOs, we've got CFOs, we've got dividend investors, creators, YouTubers, a lot of people that we know that we're reaching out to and they're really excited to come on. I told Teddie the other day, I said, man, we pretty much have 2023 booked, I think, as far as guests go. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
I'm excited. It's going to be fun, and getting all the insight from different investors and authors. It's going to be real cool for the listeners to gain all the knowledge right here on Investing on 9 to 5.
For sure. All right, man. Hey, you have fun on your cruise, brother.
Yes, man. It's going to be awesome. It hasn't hit me yet. I'm still working and, doing the investing grind. So It hasn't hit me yet that we're going, but I'm excited to get away. And
I'm excited for you. I really am.
Yeah, man.
So to all our listeners, you have a great rest of your week.
Yes, guys.
Stay cool, stay safe, and we will see you the next time.
See ya.